river bottoms are like that because of the moisture, the river, water in the river, that's where the cultivated crops are, and that's where, because of the density, the foliage and everything, all the lush vegetation is in the bottom, so the deer will come and it concentrates them in a small area. That particular area was a little windy. Milk River was windy, had a lot of, and you could literally stack deer. So I could take deer from patch A and push them, nudge them, push them into patch B, and then patch C to push them into patch B, and then give it a couple hours and, you know, nudge or push patch B, and literally 200-300 deer will come by you, type of thing. You could actually stack them.
Wow.
And you know, some guys couldn't handle it. I mean, they you know, I mean, I had situation. In fact, I had footage that I wouldn't show anybody because people wouldn't believe that these are wild deer. I mean, they thought you're hunting in a penned enclosure with. I mean, we're literally, you know, we would have. In fact, Gary Morris, the country singer, he had whatever 5 #1 hits back in the 80s or 90s, I don't remember. But anyway, we did a couple. He had his own TV show. We did a couple TV shows with him, and there was one push that we put on where I did just that. I stacked all the deer into one area and like that, and then and it's got at the bottom of the screen. It had the digital, the numbers going.
Yeah.
And like I say, I don't remember for sure, but if I remember, it was 11 minutes. But deer ran in front of the camera for 11 minutes. I mean, and I never counted them, but there's
like a reindeer.
Hundreds and hundreds. Yeah. I mean, you know, and
Terrible.
you know, it's unbelievable type of thing. But anyway, now you can. Or I say now, I don't know about like this year, but just 2 years ago maybe, 3 maybe tops. I remember local guys that hunt over there tell me that those same fields that might have 200 deer in them, now, you know, you go out there at midnight with a spotlight and there's a doe and a fawn. I mean, they're totally gone. And yeah, they'll come back. You know, it might take years for them to come back.
If they don't get hit with the same problem.
Yeah, but then it hits again, type of thing, you know. So anyway, Gene and I, we had been running some, again, we were non-residents. I put in for 4 years for Iowa, never got drawn. And then I'll fix you, I'll move there. So anyway, Gene,
I seen that come at the last second there. But
we made, and again, this is, people don't realize what goes into this. I mean, I remember Gene and I, we flew back here 5 different times. We'd fly into Des Moines, rent a vehicle, and drive for a week, checking out different areas of the state, and then fly home, and then, you know, a month later come back and spend another week driving around and learning Iowa. And it was one of those deals. In fact, Gene was originally going, he lived 100 miles south of me in Montana. He lived in a Bitterroot, I lived in a Flathead Valley. Anyway, Gene's in-laws lived in Indiana, and Gene was thinking of, because the deer were all dying in Montana, he says, I think he was going to move to Kansas. And I said, I really like Iowa. Well, as luck would have it, he was visiting his in-laws in Indiana, drove, and on the way home they went by this place that was for sale with 65 acres, and he ended up buying it, and he moved here before I did, you know, and my wife, bless her heart, I mean, she moved to Iowa sight unseen. I mean, she had never even been here before. You know, and
I thought I pulled some doozies on my wife before. Ooh.
What's that?
I said I thought I pulled some doozies on my wife before.
Well, anyway, you know, she's been, you know, and frankly, let me say this. You know, everybody says, "What's the secret?" And in my opinion, the secret to life, not just hunting, is, you know, to have the right partner. You know, have somebody that understands and willing and support. And, you know, Susan and I have been married, well, it'll be almost 50 years, just, you know, next summer type of thing.
Wow, nice.
And, yeah, and as I said, people, and I'm not just saying this for the
No.
camera, I mean, I'd marry her in a heartbeat again, you know, I mean, she has been
If she'd have
absolute-
you.
Huh?
If she'd have
Yeah,
you.
right, yeah, there you go. But, and the same thing, our kids, we've got, you know, 2 boys and a girl, and, you know, the grandkids, and they're scattered all over, but my point is that, you know, I've been really blessed with a great life.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not very many, my kids, all of them, I mean, none of them smoke, drink, do drugs, they all have good jobs, and, you know, no problem whatsoever. But it's a matter of being able to, there's not too many people in life that I've met that say, you know, can say, if I had to do it over again, there's not very much I'd ever do to change, you know.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
You don't need a do-over.
No,
you just,
I'm
yeah.
fine.
If it's a
with
do-over,
it,
to repeat it.
you know,
Yeah.
but anyway, go ahead.
Well, so really, it's just, that first question, how long you've been chasing the whitetail, I think you.
My whole life.
Yeah, your whole life.
Yeah.
And that really sums up,
I don't care, you know.
you're chasing the whitetail
Mhm.
because it's a passion, but to the point that it changed your address drastically, at least once, if not twice,
Oh, yeah, right.
or whatever
You know,
times. I mean,
because-
it's that important.
Yeah, because of the whitetails, I
Yeah.
mean, being what they are and stuff.
Yeah.
I guess it's almost an obsession. I'm just intrigued
Yeah.
by the species, and that's why, as I said, so many people
Yeah.
couldn't understand. You know, I can't believe you live in Montana and, you know, and you only go elk hunting 3 or 4 days a year, or, you know, whatever, and you spend all that time.
And
you
that's
know.
somebody else's passion, if they're gonna
Yeah,
chase the elk.
And I've always been a big believer in that, as far as, you know, what the next guy does, as long as it doesn't interfere with my interests.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I shoot a recurve bow, I don't gun hunt at all, I don't even own a muzzleloader, or, I don't own a shotgun,
Yeah.
I don't own a 22, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, I got a 17 caliber for the porch gun, and, you
Yeah.
know, and I got some varmint guns for coyotes and
Yeah.
stuff, but, you know, and I got some old guns, you know, hand-me-downs, and I
Yeah.
inherited and so
Stick-
forth,
yeah, keeping
but
them
as I said, I can't even remember the last animal I shot with a
Wow.
rifle, and I don't care what the next guy does,
Right.
you know, as long, and the same with the bows. You know, I shoot a recurve, and I've always shot a recurve, I mean, before compounds even came out, type of thing. I mean, I've been in it long enough, but I could care less. Like, you know, Richard shoots a compound. I could care, I have
Right.
no problem whatsoever, type
Absolutely.
of thing, you know.
Yeah.
As I said, it's just kind of, you know, just a personal thing, but people think because I shoot a recurve that I'm anti-compounder. No, not at all, type of thing, you know, but as long as it doesn't
Right,
interfere
I was
with,
just gonna say, yeah.
you know, what I do, type of thing, but.
Well, we had a guy in camp that shot a compound, and he said to Ross, my buddy,
Mhm.
and of course Ross shoots I call them horizontals, but you know,
A crossbow?
yes.
Mm-hmm.
And Ross told me on the way here, I said, I'm surprised you didn't bring your compound, because he really likes to shoot his compound. And he said, Gary, in fairness to the game, he said, I have not had enough time to feel that proficient with that compound. I dare not. This is not fair. And he says, but I can't turn on the opportunity to come out and see what I can do out here for 4 or 5 days. So, you know, on that sense, I mean, yeah, so it's,
Well, I'm opinionated on that too, and we might not want to get into that.
Yeah, well.
You know, as far as, I mean, the crossbow, you know, I don't mind them at all during the
Right.
gun season,
Right.
but I don't think they have a
Place,
right to
yeah.
be, for the seasons that were made and, you
Yep.
know, given to us because of it, a traditional bow being a handheld, hand-drawn, you know, short range
yeah, now we look
weapon,
at the Benjamin air bow.
Oh,
I mean, we took this to the next notch.
yeah, right.
And now
someday
legislative, yeah.
they're gonna screw around and invent a rifle, you
Yeah,
know?
absolutely,
I mean,
yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
just the way I look at it, but, you know.
Oh, that's funny.
And then frankly, I'm of the same opinion, and I'll just tell you this, I don't know what your opinion is on it, but, on muzzleloaders. I think the muzzleloader seasons were basically started for flintlocks, you know, I mean, and I think that's cool.
The traditional.
But when you have progressed
Yeah.
to the extent where a primitive weapon muzzleloader has a thumb hole stock and a bipod and a
Yeah.
target scope, and you know the inline, and they can shoot them in the eyeball at 200 yards.
Absolutely,
That's not
yeah.
a primitive
No,
weapon, you know,
no.
and they're
Shouldn't fit the
they've-
definition of that
Yeah.
hunt.
Anyway,
Yeah.
that's just my opinion
Yeah.
type of thing.
Well, no,
so
that's good, that's the information that, you know, when I sat down with
guys
the
need
other.
to think about.
Absolutely, when we were because that's my whole project, really is.
Mm-hmm.
I know that, you know, my whole project really is about the future of hunting,
Mm-hmm.
if we nail it down or boil it down.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that topic has been discussed, what, 1,000,000 times, if not 2,000,000
Mm-hmm.
times? But, and that's kind of the whole crux of it, is, I mentioned that to a couple of guys in a similar, we were doing the same thing, and a couple guys back in Michigan, and they said the same thing. And then, of course, I decided to play a little bit of devil's advocate, so I'll do that. Because that's where it leads to, is, where do you see this with the youth? With our, because,
Well,
you know.
I'll tell you,
You know,
that,
we are seeing although one guy said he volunteers to teach, hunter safety back in Michigan. He says, we're filling some classrooms, Gary, and we didn't fill them a few years ago. We're seeing a little bit of a trend up. The other folks, I don't think, are seeing that, but they all agreed that, you know, some common things about, hey, what are some cool ideas, some neat, effective ideas, not so much cool, but effective ideas to reach out to the youth without compromising the sport.
it is a real challenge because I hate to say a gray area, but you have to be real careful on how it's like me telling you how I raised my kids and what you should be doing or whatever. What is good for me might not necessarily be good for yourself, type of thing. And the kids these days are being handed everything. They all want to be Michael Jordans or whatever,
Yeah.
but they don't want to have to shoot hoops.
Yeah.